Okay, good morning, everybody. This is CAD 212, class 15 on Monday, March 5th. Today we're going to be talking about curtain walls, what are curtain walls, um, and how we use curtain walls, and then how we're going to incorporate them into our project. So we'll get started on that now. All right, when we're talking about curtain walls, we're talking about a structural and a visual representation of get curtain walls. Well, it's not this, that's for sure. It's this right here. So not only are they visual for the windows where you can see out of them, but they're also functional. They function as a wall as well. A great representation of what a curtain wall is at the Delgado campus in New Orleans East on Louisa Street. Gosh, can't even think of the name of that campus right now. I'm so tired. Sorry guys. But anyway, the one that we usually go to, that big curved wall in the front, that is a curtain wall. So we're going to learn how to do this today. And the curtain wall is made out of a few different sections. It's made out of these panes. We're going to learn how to swap out these panes so that not only are they glass, but they can only be different. They can be different type of materials as well. And then also we're going to talk about how to create a pattern with these mullions and how these mullions are changeable, and how we can correct that. So let's go ahead and get started with that now that we know what a curtain wall is. And I'm just going to start a new project and play with the curtain walls a little bit, and then we'll incorporate them into our actual project. So the first thing we need to create a curtain wall is actually just a regular wall. So I'm just going to put up a couple of quick walls like that. Go to 3D for a quick look at that. Basic walls there. And what we'll need to do to add our curtain walls is to go back to our architecture tab, build panel, wall tool, and we're going to select just a regular wall. But the difference is when we come over to properties and we go to our type selector and we do the drop down, we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom and we're going to select curtain walls. You'll see that there's a couple of different options here, but we're going to use curtain walls. They all work this pretty much the same. But just go ahead and select curtain wall. And then when you do that, you'll notice that we have our cursor with the crosshairs in it. And then we come over to one of these other walls that we already have in place, and our location line pops up. So we can't draw it out here. It has to actually be embedded inside a wall already. So we're going to click here on the wall, and notice you can see it's kind of drawing in there. And we'll click there. Notice we have our temporary dimensions here, so we can adjust it, the size of it this way as well. And now that I have that wall in place, let's go to 3D and take a look at it. Well, that doesn't look like a damn thing. So we've got something weird that looks like that. This will happen the first time that we draw the curtain wall. But we need to select that curtain wall now, go into edit type, and then here it says automatically embedded. Well, we can click on that, and then when we go back, it's actually going to automatically embed itself. Why does it do that? I'm not sure, but it'll always default to the first time you draw the curtain wall, you can't see it. We could have fixed that by going into edit type the first time, but I wanted to show you how that worked like this. So yeah, all you got to do is go back with the curtain wall active and unclick automatically embedded. So now with our curtain wall in place, there's a few different things that we can do with it. I'm going to hide this because it's just a little bit easier to see without. So basically right now it's just a giant sheet of glass. So we want to score the glass, so to speak, so we can create these mullions. So first we're going to create a grid and then you add the mullions. So in order to do that, we're going to go to just a front view. We'll go here, come back up to Architecture tab, come all the way over to, well, your build panel and all the way over to, you'll see curtain grid and mullions. So we're just going to use a regular curtain grid. And when we do that, we have that active. You'll notice that this dotted line shows up. And it gives me measurements, and I can adjust the measurements how I want it to as well, just like the other way. So we'll just click on there. And I'll just click in a few different spots. And then do it horizontally as well. Let's go to a side view so you can get an idea of that. So basically what we did is we just marked the glass where we want these mullions to be. You can adjust the measurements like we did before with our temporary dimensions. We can also add and remove segments. So here, if you click on this, oops, click too fast. Go back to our curtain grid. So if you just wanted to add one segment, you can add one segment. So you end up with something that looks like this. Now we want to add the mullion, so you're going to go back to Architecture tab, Build Panel, Mullion tool. Click on mullions. Notice you can add different sections right here. You can add a grid line segment, or all grid lines. So with grid line on, you're just doing like a section of it at a time. There's really no need for us to do that at the moment, so you can just use all grid lines. And when you do that, it makes them all active. Let's see from the other side how that looks. Now, a couple things that we want to pay attention to here, and this would be determined on what type of curtain grid that you're using, and this would be also by the different type of, by the actual curtain wall developer, what kind of, how these connections are going to work. But you'll notice that there's a different way that these connections can sit on the bottom, or where they intersect. Now here, this would be along the ground. A lot of times what you'll want is this last mullion to rest on top of this one, because if, you know, depending on the way it's constructed, you have water infiltration in a lot of these spaces right here, and just having one long mullion along the bottom usually helps with any kind of water infiltration. But once again, it does depend on the actual system. So let's see how we can do that, so we can just kind of fix that so this is actually sitting on top of this mullion here. So if we click on this one and make it active, notice we have like this little hashtag that shows up. So you can click on that and it'll change the location of those. This is also a good way to kind of work into your design how you want it to look. But for your actual work, I want this to be like one long piece here. So you're going to have to change these mullions so they're not intersecting but sitting on top of this one on the bottom. And you just click it, make it active, and have it sit like that. And sometimes the hardest part about the curtain grid, curtain wall system is actually picking the piece that you want to make active. So we want all those to be sitting on top of this bottom mullion, and we want to do the same with the top. Instead of having this intersected, just little attention to detail, things like this, how we want these to have one long piece across the top. The rest of it, you're going to have like carte blanche to do whatever you want with it. You can make the design look any way you want. And we'll talk about how we're going to incorporate that into your actual design when we get to that section. And then finally, I'll just do this one right here. There we go. So we end up with something that kind of looks like that. Not only besides the glass panels, you can actually make these panels into different types of materials, which is also interesting. It gives you an interesting design element there. So let's take a look at how we do that. That's probably the hardest part, is to get, getting to pick the panel that you want, and it just takes a little practice. So what's the easiest way to do that is to like come over here. I mean, see how that mullion is, I've got that there. I'm gonna not click on it, make it active, but I'm gonna use the tab button and cycle through. And that'll allow me to pick the piece of glass that I want. So let's try that again. There we go. So with that pane of glass active, I can come back over to my properties and my type selector. I'm going to do a drop down on my type selector. And any wall that's already created that's in here, I can change that to that piece of material. So if I have that, if I want that to be a brick wall function, I can just change that to brick. So now that section of wall is brick. So, and any other piece that I want to swap out like that, I could do that. If I had like a sheet metal wall there and wanted to change part of it to sheet metal, I could do that here. So yeah, you can change that, and it's suggested to do that for your project as well. So let's do that one more time, like with this pane over here. So I'll do that again. Let me maybe change this to hidden lines. So here you can see it's not quite active, and then I hit on the tab button. And then once that gets there, I can click that and actually make it active. Go into my different wall types. I'm going to select brick again. And now I've made that another brick section. We can also change the height of our curtain wall. So I'm going to make a curtain wall over here. So see how we'll do that. Let's go to level 1 again. To do the curtain walls, we're going to go to Architecture tab, Build Panel Wall Tool. In my properties and type selector, that curtain wall is still active. So I'm just going to come over here and draw a smaller one. Let's just do it like that. Notice this time when I drew that, it automatically embedded itself. So the first time you do it, you have to click on automatically embed. After that, it'll work properly. Let's go back to 3D. And notice that the curtain wall is going to follow the parameters of the original wall that you have, so it's the same height. We can change the height of this just the same way that we change the heights of the other walls. So we're going to click on it, make it active, come over to properties, and here we're going to manipulate our base offset and our height offset. So let's just change our base offset. Let's just change that to 6 feet. And that'll lift that 6 feet, but it also lifted this part 6 feet. So we have to correct our top height as well. So let's change that to, let's say we're just going to make a 2-foot wall. So we end up with something that looks like that. So we still need to put the curtain grid and mullions on it. So I'm going to put one little simple curtain grid on here. I'll just divide it like that. And then we'll put the mullions on here, and we'll do them all at one time. Now correct this. All right, don't want that, want that. And just with those few clicks, we've made a clear story window. You'll see this a lot in more modern buildings, modern architecture, where it's a long window that is above eye height, and it's used to allow light in. And that's, you can refer to that as a clear story window. So we've just made one of those, or you can make any type of windows that you want now, just using this curtain wall tool, which is pretty interesting. Let's do one last thing in this project. Let's see, level 1. I'm just going to draw a regular wall again. Let's just use generic. You can use this on circular walls as well. You can incorporate circular walls into your project. Let's go back to curtain wall. Probably should not have picked a circle to draw in. That was not bright. This was not a great example for me to use for you, but anyway, we should be able to add that in there. You can make circular curtain walls. Just not doing a very good job at it right now. So anyway, any questions about how to create a curtain wall before we move into how to incorporate this into your building? Just takes a little practice. So what I would do is just, do the same thing I did here, is just use a practice project and kind of play with them and kind of see how you do it. Usually what we'll do in class is we'll do like a red line exercise with that. It's a little harder to do that virtually, where you create a curtain wall and you come back and I'll correct it and kind of change some stuff up, because you can't come back and change and remove some of these things. Say if you wanted to get rid of like this panel right here, if we click on that and make it active, we can just delete that. So you delete the mullion first, and then when we come back and we have this segment here, we can do add or remove segments. And I just removed that segment there. So now that's one sheet. So you can remove segments at a time if you want. But if you just get to something where you have some kind of pattern on your wall, and that's up to you how you want to create that. So that's just a general curtain wall. Let's talk about how we're going to incorporate that into our project itself. Okay, we've got this same project here that we've been working on for the past couple of days. So what I want you to do is I want the curtain wall incorporated into this section where the staircase is. Everybody's going to have the same staircase. So the minimum requirements in order to create the curtain wall would be here. And we'll go through that today. You can use curtain walls in other sections of the building if you like. You're free to do that, but the minimum requirement is to have the curtain wall in this area right here. So let's go ahead and incorporate that now. We'll go ahead and jump back to level 1. This is the area that we want that curtain wall to be embedded. So remember, Architecture tab, Build Panel Wall tool. Click on that. We'll do the drop down in our type selector all the way down to curtain walls. This time, if we go into Edit Type first, we can go ahead and click on Automatically Embed. And we're going to come over here. We're going to just draw this curtain wall in this section right here. Notice how that changed really easily. Now I'm going to jump back to 3D. And we have the beginnings of our curtain wall that quickly. So a couple of things we want to do. We have to have this incorporated up to our 3rd floor. So let's click on it, make it active. Let's change that height connection. And I'm going to make that 28 feet. I want to leave a little bit of wall above it. It's up to you how you want that to look. I've got that there. Oops. So basic curtain walls in place. Now we just have to create the design with our curtain grid. It is up to you how you would like to do that. Just going to make a quick one, and we're going to add the mullions, all grids at one time. Connect that. Make these quick adjustments up here. Do the same with the bottom. We have something that looks like that. So that is a super basic curtain grid done. Yeah, it's just takes a little practice. They're very easy. You can incorporate it into more of the building. I would actually do something that is a lot more interesting if I were y'all. There's a couple of different things that we need to do to adjust this. Notice now that we have the curtain wall available, we can actually see into this room, and we can see that we can, this is actually the floor that's showing through. This should actually be like a wall where it's the floor is not showing through. This is just a kind of like a Revit thing that we need to correct. So we need to go in and correct these floors to make sure that our wall segments are actually meeting together and not staying here. So there's a couple of different things we need to do to adjust that. So let's go to our second floor. In order to fix that, I want to click on the floor itself, make it active. And I'm going to edit the boundary. I'm just going to select this boundary here. And I'm going to just bump it over just a little bit. And depending on how it intersected the wall, that should correct it. If not, there's other ways that we can correct that as well. Let me jump back to 3D, see if that fixed it. That did not fix it. So from this angle, I'm going to select this wall right here. And I'm going to go to Edit Profile now. So with that Edit Profile on, what I want to do is adjust this profile. Actually, not from that side. Oops. And I really should have hidden the stairs while I'm doing this. And just by adjusting that profile, it kind of brings those two walls together so we don't see that big gap. I didn't have to fix that right here. I could have, it wouldn't have made any difference. Could have brought the whole thing down. This section of floor was covering that wall section anyway, but that just gets rid of that space where we can see that. If I had the same thing here, you'd notice that it was up here as well, but I just have this section. I haven't put my staircase in my third floor yet. So that is our basic curtain wall. It's actually a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to play with. I would suggest working in different panels of different types of materials. You can play with that as well. Yeah, but make it interesting. Any questions about how to create curtain walls? It gets a little bit more frustrating when you start actually doing it. So just take practice at it. And then any questions that you have on that, we can come back on Wednesday and we can address them. But you, at the minimum, like I said, you definitely have to have this curtain wall incorporated into this part of the building right here. And how you do that is up to you. Any questions, y'all?
Yes, how do you change the material type for the wall sweeps?
Oh, yes. Let's jump into that. Okay, so we'll click on this wall right here. So that one's active with the sweep. Let's go into Edit Type and edit over here. Do our preview on. So with our sweeps active, notice that we have our different wall sweeps that we have here. Here we can change the material at this point. So I made one that yellow. So if I wanted to make this that matching yellow, I can go ahead and just click on this one here. And I'll just change that to the same material. So I just swapped out, now they're the same material. So you actually have to make the wall active. Go into edit. Edit again, make the sweep active, and then you can change it. So if I wanted to add another sweep, then I would just do, add another one. And then just add another material there, but you have to change it with the material, with the sweep active at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anything else, anybody? Okay, we'll go ahead and end class. I'll get this recording up. Then I will see you on Wednesday. What I would definitely suggest between now and Wednesday is to go in there and try and practice with these curtain walls, see if you can get them to work. It's not difficult. It's kind of fun. It just takes a little practice. So go ahead and start playing with them, and we'll see you all Wednesday. All right, take care, everybody. Bye.